The crowd fell silent as Liam Patterson strode confidently across the dusty main street of Copper Creek, his boots leaving perfect impressions in the dirt as he made his way toward Clara Bennett, who stood awkwardly outside the general store clutching her worn shawl around her shoulders despite the Arizona heat of 1878. The onlookers exchanged puzzled glances, unable to comprehend why the most eligible bachelor in 3 counties would approach the plain, bookish woman when there were so many prettier, more socially adept choices available. Clara felt her cheeks flush as Liam approached. At 24, she had long ago accepted her place in life, the quiet, unremarkable daughter of the town's late schoolteacher. Her simple cotton dress hung loosely on her thin frame, and her dark brown hair was pulled back in a practical bun that did nothing to enhance her features. The few freckles scattered across her nose were typically hidden beneath the brim of her hat, which she now clutched nervously in her hands. "Miss Bennett," Liam said, tipping his hat. His voice carried across the street, causing several heads to turn. "Might I have a word with you?" Clara's eyes widened, and she glanced around, certain he must be addressing someone else. Finding no one, she met his gaze. "With me, Mr. Patterson?" Liam's smile deepened the creases around his eyes. At 30, he had established himself as one of the most successful ranchers in the territory. His tall, broad-shouldered frame and sun-bronzed skin spoke of a life spent working outdoors, while the quality of his clothing indicated his prosperity. "Yes, madam," he replied. "I was hoping you might join me for supper at the hotel restaurant this evening." A few feet away, Hattie Wilson gasped audibly. As the daughter of the town's mayor, she had set her sights on Liam years ago. Clara could feel the woman's glare burning into her back. I'm not sure that would be appropriate, Mr. Patterson," Clara said softly, though a small flutter of excitement stirred in her chest. "I assure you, Miss Bennett, my intentions are honorable." Liam's blue eyes held hers steadily. "I would very much enjoy your company." Clara swallowed hard. She had admired Liam from afar for years, watching as he built his ranch from nothing, treating his workers fairly and speaking kindly to everyone regardless of their station. But men like Liam Patterson did not court women like Clara Bennett. 7 o'clock, he pressed gently. "Yes," Clara found herself saying. "Thank you." As Liam tipped his hat again and walked away, Clara became acutely aware of the whispers erupting around her. She clutched her packages tighter and hurried toward the modest house she had inherited from her father. "Well, I never." She heard Hattie exclaim to her friends. What could he possibly see in her? "Perhaps he lost a bet," someone suggested, followed by raucous laughter. Clara quickened her pace, her eyes fixed on the ground. The excitement she had felt moments ago withered under the weight of their words. They were right, of course. What could a man like Liam Patterson possibly want with her? Inside her small home, Clara set her packages on the kitchen table and caught her reflection in the small mirror hanging on the wall. Plain brown eyes stared back at her, set in an unremarkable face. She had never considered herself beautiful. Her mother had always stressed that beauty of character was more important than physical appearance. But in that moment, Clara wished desperately for just a fraction of the beauty possessed by women like Hattie Wilson. With trembling hands, she reached up and removed the pins from her hair, allowing it to fall in waves down her back. It was her one vanity-thick, chestnut hair that reached her waist. She rarely wore it down, finding it impractical for her daily activities of tending her small garden and working at the town library. As the sun began to set, Clara changed into her best dress, a deep blue cotton that her mother had made for her before she passed away 3 years ago. It was simple but well made, with tiny pearl buttons down the front. She pinned her hair up again, but more carefully this time, allowing a few soft tendrils to frame her face. At precisely 6:45, Clara left her house and walked slowly toward the hotel. Each step felt heavier than the last as doubt clouded her mind. Perhaps this was all an elaborate joke at her expense. It wouldn't be the first time she had been the target of cruel humor. In school, the other children had teased her mercilessly about her love of books and her quiet nature. The hotel restaurant was the finest establishment in Copper Creek, with tablecloths and real glass windows overlooking the main street. As Clara approached, she could see Liam already seated at a table near the window. He stood immediately when he spotted her, a genuine smile lighting his face. "Miss Bennett," he said, pulling out her chair. "You look lovely this evening." Clara sat down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I must admit, I was surprised by your invitation." "Were you?" Liam took his seat across from her. "I've been trying to work up the courage to speak to you for months." Clara's eyes widened. "I don't understand." "What don't you understand, Miss Bennett?" "Why you would want to dine with me when there are so many other women in town who would be more," she hesitated, "suitable companions." Liam leaned forward slightly. "I'm not interested in suitable companions, Miss Bennett. I'm interested in you." Before Clara could respond, the waiter appeared to take their order. Liam ordered steaks for both of them, along with potatoes and green beans. Clara noticed several other diners watching them curiously, and she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "Everyone is staring," she whispered once the waiter had gone. "Let them," Liam replied easily. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Bennett. I know you work at the library, but what do you enjoy doing when you're not there?" Over the next hour, Clara found herself relaxing as Liam asked her questions about her favorite books, her garden, and her thoughts on various topics. He listened intently to her answers, seeming genuinely interested in what she had to say. It was a novel experience for Clara, who was accustomed to being overlooked in social situations. "My father always said that a person's character is revealed in how they treat those who can do nothing for them," Liam said as they finished their meal. "I've watched you, Clara, the way you help Mrs. Thompson with her children even though she can never repay you, how you stayed late at the library to teach young Tommy Jenkins to read when everyone else had given up on him." Clara blushed at his use of her first name. "Those things are not remarkable, Mr. Patterson." "Liam, please," he corrected gently. "And I disagree. Kindness, without expectation of reward, is the rarest quality in this world." As they left the restaurant, Liam offered Clara his arm for the walk home. She hesitated only briefly before placing her hand in the crook of his elbow. The evening air was cool, and stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "Would you permit me to call on you again?" Liam asked as they reached her front porch. Clara looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of mockery or deceit. She found none, only an earnest expression that made her heart race. "Yes," she said softly. "I would like that." Liam smiled and bowed slightly. "Good night, Clara." "Good night, Liam." Over the next few weeks, Liam called on Clara regularly. They took walks along the creek that gave the town its name, rode in his buggy to neighboring farms, and shared meals both at the hotel and occasionally at Clara's home when she worked up the courage to invite him. The townspeople watched with increasing bewilderment. Hattie Wilson and her friends made no attempt to hide their disapproval, often whispering behind their hands when Clara passed by. The men at the saloon teased Liam mercilessly, suggesting that he had lost his mind or was pursuing Clara for some hidden purpose. "Patterson's gone soft in the head," Will Tanner declared loudly one evening as Liam entered the saloon. "Courting that mousy Bennett girl when he could have his pick of any woman in the territory." Liam's jaw tightened, but he kept his temper in check. "I'd appreciate it if you'd keep your opinions to yourself, Tanner." "Come on, Patterson," another man chimed in. "You can't expect us to believe you're serious about her. What's the real reason? Did her daddy leave her some money we don't know about?" In one swift motion, Liam grabbed the man by his shirt collar and lifted him partially off the ground. "Her father left her nothing but a good name and a strong character, which is more than I can say for most folks around here. Speak of her disrespectfully again, and we'll have problems." The saloon fell silent as Liam released the man and straightened his vest. Without another word, he turned and left, the batwing doors swinging behind him. Clara, unaware of the confrontation, was tending her garden when Liam arrived the following afternoon. She looked up as his shadow fell across the vegetable patch, and a smile spread across her face. "I wasn't expecting you until later," she said, brushing dirt from her hands. "I couldn't wait," Liam replied. He held out a small package. "I brought you something." Clara accepted the package with surprise. Inside was a beautifully bound copy of Pride and Prejudice, her favorite novel. She had mentioned once that her father's copy had been damaged in a rainstorm several years ago. "Oh, Liam," she breathed, running her fingers over the embossed cover. "It's beautiful. Thank you." "Open it," he urged. Clara carefully opened the book to find a pressed wildflower marking a page. She recognized it as the same type of flower Liam had picked for her during their first walk together. "I've never met anyone like you, Clara," Liam said quietly. "You see the world differently than anyone I know. When you talk about the characters in your books, they come alive. When you describe the colors of a sunset, I see it through new eyes." Clara felt tears welling up. No one had ever spoken to her this way before. "I'm just ordinary, Liam." "No," he said firmly, taking her hands in his. "You're extraordinary, and I've fallen in love with you." Clara's breath caught in her throat. "You can't mean that." "I've never meant anything more in my life." Liam's eyes were intense. "I know it's only been a few weeks, but I've watched you for years, Clara. I know my mind, and I know my heart." "But everyone thinks you're making a mistake," Clara whispered. "They laugh and wonder what you see in me." "Then they're blind," Liam declared. "When I look at you, I see a queen. I see strength and grace and wisdom beyond your years. I see someone who makes me want to be a better man." Before Clara could respond, they were interrupted by the sound of approaching hoofbeats. Sheriff Morgan rode up to Clara's gate, his expression grim. "Patterson," he called, "there's trouble at your ranch. Your foreman sent for you. Rustlers hit your north pasture." Liam's expression hardened. "I'll be right there." He turned back to Clara. "I'm sorry, I have to go." "Of course," Clara said quickly. "Be careful, Liam." He squeezed her hands once more before mounting his horse and galloping away with the sheriff. The next few days were agony for Clara. News traveled quickly in a small town like Copper Creek, and she soon learned that Liam and his men had tracked the rustlers into the foothills. There had been gunfire, but details were scarce. On the third day, Clara was working at the library when she heard commotion outside. She hurried to the window to see Liam riding slowly down the main street, his arm in a makeshift sling. Without thinking, she dropped the books she was holding and ran outside. "Liam," she called, heedless of the stares from passers-by. He dismounted awkwardly and caught her with his good arm as she reached him. "I'm all right," he assured her. "Just a graze." Clara examined his arm with concern. "You need to see the doctor." "Already did, on the way into town," Liam said. "He patched me up and told me to rest, but I had to see you first." Clara was suddenly aware that they were standing in the middle of the street with numerous onlookers. "Come inside," she said, leading him toward the library. Once inside the quiet building, Clara helped Liam to a chair in the reading room. "What happened?" she asked. "We caught up to the rustlers near the territorial border," Liam explained. "There was a fight. We recovered most of the cattle, and the sheriff took the men into custody." Clara gently touched the bandage visible beneath his torn shirt. "You could have been killed. It would take more than a few cattle thieves to keep me from coming back to you," Liam said with a small smile. Then his expression grew serious. "Clara, when I was out there, with bullets flying, all I could think about was you. About things left unsaid between us." Clara's heart pounded in her chest as Liam reached into his pocket with his good hand and withdrew a small box. "I had this with me," he said. I was planning to ask you properly, with dinner and flowers, but life is too uncertain to wait for perfect moments. He opened the box to reveal a simple gold ring with a small pearl. Clara Bennett, will you marry me? Clara stared at the ring, then at Liam's face. People will talk, she whispered. They'll say you settled, that you could have done better. Let them talk, Liam said firmly. I know what I want, and it's you. Always you. Tears filled Clara's eyes as she nodded. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. Liam slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her close for a tender kiss. Neither of them noticed the library patron who witnessed the proposal and quickly left to spread the news throughout town. By evening, everyone in Copper Creek knew that Liam Patterson had proposed to Clara Bennett. The reactions were mixed. Some expressed genuine happiness for the couple, while others scoffed and made predictions about how quickly Liam would come to regret his decision. He'll tire of her within a year, Hattie Wilson declared to anyone who would listen. Plain women like Clara can't keep a man like Liam Patterson satisfied. Clara tried to ignore the whispers and sidelong glances as she and Liam made plans for their wedding. They decided on a simple ceremony at the small church in town, to be held in 4 weeks' time. As the wedding day approached, Clara found herself increasingly anxious. She had no family to stand with her and few close friends. Her mother's wedding dress had been carefully preserved, but as she tried it on, she worried that she would disappoint Liam. The dress was beautiful but simple white cotton with delicate embroidery around the collar and hem. The day before the wedding, Clara was surprised by a knock at her door. She opened it to find Mrs. Thompson, the widow she had often helped with childcare, along with several other women from town. We've come to help you prepare for tomorrow, Mrs. Thompson said warmly. Every bride needs her friends around her on the night before her wedding. Touched beyond words, Clara welcomed them inside. The women had brought food and small gifts, and they spent the evening helping Clara with final preparations. They added a blue ribbon to her mother's dress for something blue, and lent her a lace handkerchief for something borrowed. Why are you all being so kind? Clara asked as Mrs. Thompson brushed her hair. I know what most people in town think of this match. Not everyone shares those opinions, Mrs. Thompson said firmly. Some of us have seen how Mr. Patterson looks at you, and more importantly, how you look at him. That's real love, not the shallow nonsense that Hattie Wilson and her friends understand. Clara slept little that night, her mind racing with thoughts of the day to come. When morning arrived, she rose early and began to prepare. The women returned to help her dress and arrange her hair, which they convinced her to wear down, with just the front sections pinned back and adorned with small white flowers from her garden. The church was fuller than Clara had expected when she arrived. She paused at the back, momentarily overwhelmed by the sight of so many people. Then she saw Liam standing at the altar, tall and handsome in his best suit, watching for her with an expression of such love that everything else faded away. Clara walked slowly down the aisle alone, her eyes never leaving Liam's. When she reached him, he took her hands in his. You look beautiful, he whispered. The ceremony was brief, but meaningful. They exchanged vows and rings, promising to love and cherish each other for all their days. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Liam kissed her with such tenderness that Clara felt tears spring to her eyes. The celebration afterward was held at Liam's ranch, now their ranch. Tables had been set up in the yard, decorated with wildflowers and ribbons. A band played lively tunes, and food was plentiful. Clara was surprised to see how many townspeople had come to wish them well, including some who had been openly skeptical of their match. Mrs. Patterson, Liam said, offering his hand as the band began a waltz. May I have this dance? Clara placed her hand in his. I should warn you, I'm not very practiced at dancing. Neither am I, Liam admitted with a smile. As they moved somewhat awkwardly around the makeshift dance floor, Clara noticed Hattie Wilson watching them with a sour expression. Hattie doesn't look pleased, she murmured. Hattie has never known what real happiness looks like, Liam replied, drawing Clara closer. But I do. It looks exactly like this moment, with you in my arms. The sun was setting when the last guests departed, leaving Clara and Liam alone at their ranch. He led her to the house, a sturdy two-story structure that he had built himself when he first claimed the land. "Welcome home, Mrs. Patterson," he said, lifting her into his arms to carry her across the threshold despite her laughing protests. Inside, Clara was surprised to see several of her belongings from her small house in town already arranged in the parlor, her father's books on the shelves, her mother's quilt draped over a chair, the small desk where she wrote her letters positioned near a window with a view of the mountains. "When did you do this?" she asked, touching the familiar items with wonder. "While you were busy with wedding preparations," Liam explained. "I wanted you to feel at home here. Of course, there's plenty of room for you to arrange things as you like." Clara turned to him, her heart so full she could hardly speak. "It's perfect," she managed at last. "Everything is perfect." Later that night, as they lay together in the quiet darkness of their bedroom, Clara traced the outline of Liam's face with her fingertips. "Why me?" she whispered. "Out of all the women you could have chosen, why did you choose me?" Liam caught her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. "Because you're the only one I've ever really seen," he said. "The others, they're like shadows compared to you. You shine, Clara, with a light that comes from within." "I love you," Clara said, the words feeling both momentous and utterly natural. "And I love you," Liam replied. "More than I ever thought possible." The first year of their marriage passed quickly, filled with both joys and challenges. Clara learned to manage a ranch household, which was vastly different from her small-town home. She started a larger garden and befriended the ranch hands' wives, who initially viewed her with curiosity but soon came to respect her quiet strength and practical nature. Liam faced his own challenges as drought threatened their cattle, and competition from larger ranchers put pressure on smaller operations like theirs. Through it all, he found comfort and wisdom in Clara, whose practical solutions and unwavering support helped them weather each crisis. In town, attitudes toward their match gradually shifted. Even Hattie Wilson, who had married a wealthy businessman from Tucson, grudgingly admitted that the Pattersons seemed genuinely happy. On their first anniversary, Liam surprised Clara with a trip to San Francisco, a city she had read about but never dreamed of visiting. They stayed in a grand hotel, attended the theater, and walked arm in arm through bustling streets unlike anything Clara had ever experienced. "Are you enjoying yourself, Mrs. Patterson?" Liam asked as they strolled along the harbor on their final evening. "More than I can say," Clara replied, her eyes bright with excitement. "Though I must admit, I'm looking forward to going home too. I miss our ranch." Liam smiled, pleased that she had truly come to think of the ranch as her home. "I have another surprise for you when we get back," he said. Upon their return, Liam led Clara to what had been an unused room near their bedroom. Opening the door, he revealed a small but well-appointed library, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a comfortable window seat overlooking the ranch. "Liam," Clara gasped, stepping into the room. "When did you do this?" "I had the men working on it while we were away," Liam explained. "You've given up so much to be here with me, your house in town, your position at the library. I wanted you to have a space that's just for you." Clara turned to him, her eyes shining with tears. "I haven't given up anything that matters," she said. "Everything I truly value is right here." As spring turned to summer, Clara discovered she was expecting their first child. The news filled both of them with joy and trepidation. Childbirth was dangerous, especially in remote areas where doctors were scarce. "We'll move into town before your time comes," Liam insisted. "I want you near the doctor." Clara agreed, though she was reluctant to leave the ranch for an extended period. As her condition became apparent, she found herself the recipient of unexpected kindness from the women of Copper Creek. Many who had once whispered behind her back now brought gifts for the baby and shared advice about motherhood. Mrs. Thompson, who had become a dear friend, visited often. "See," she said one afternoon as they prepared baby clothes. "They've finally seen what Liam saw all along." "What's that?" Clara asked, looking up from her sewing. "The queen behind the plain exterior, Mrs. Thompson said with a smile. "You've won them over, just by being yourself." In December of 1879, Clara gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Liam paced anxiously outside the bedroom as the doctor and Mrs. Thompson attended to his wife. When at last he was allowed inside, the sight of Clara holding their daughter brought him to his knees beside the bed. "She's perfect," he whispered, gently touching the baby's tiny hand. "Just like her mother." They named her Elizabeth, after Clara's mother, and called her Beth. She had Liam's blue eyes and Clara's chestnut hair, and from her earliest days showed a strong will that both amused and challenged her parents. As Beth grew, so did the ranch. Liam's careful management and innovation helped them expand their operations, and Clara's skill with numbers proved invaluable in keeping their accounts. They built a larger house to accommodate their growing family, as Beth was joined by 2 brothers over the next 5 years. 10 years into their marriage, Clara stood on the porch of their home, watching as Liam taught 8-year-old Beth to ride her own pony. Their sons, James and Thomas, played nearby under the watchful eye of Mrs. Thompson, who had become like a grandmother to the children after being widowed a second time. "Who would have thought we'd end up here?" Mrs. Thompson said, joining Clara on the porch. "Remember how they all laughed when Liam first started courting you?" Clara smiled, her eyes never leaving her husband and daughter. "I remember. I thought he was making a terrible mistake. And now I know he saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself," Clara said softly. "He always said he saw a queen when he looked at me. It took me years to understand what he meant. And, do you understand now?" Mrs. Thompson asked. Clara nodded, watching as Liam swung Beth down from her pony and spun her around, both of them laughing in the golden afternoon light. "Yes," she said. "I understand that love doesn't see with ordinary eyes. It sees the person you're capable of becoming, not just who you are in the moment." Liam looked up then, catching Clara's gaze across the yard. The love in his eyes was as clear and true as it had been on the day he first asked her to dinner, all those years ago. He set Beth down and crossed the yard to the porch, taking Clara's hand in his. "What are you 2 ladies discussing so seriously?" he asked. "The past," Mrs. Thompson replied with a smile. "And how it led to this present. Well, I for one am grateful for every step of the journey," Liam said, putting his arm around Clara's waist. "Especially the one that led me to the most beautiful woman in Arizona territory." "Flatterer," Clara said, but she leaned into his embrace, content in the knowledge that in his eyes, she had always been, and would always be, nothing less than royalty.